somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps,
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Nostradamus.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. But we don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. And tonight, Kevin welcomes the best alternative to Cocaine Bear, John Irwin. Comedian who's having trouble getting dates, Mike Paramore Jr. All the living presidents. The First Lady of New York Hospitality, Christine Nicholas. And three-time Grammy winner, Michael W. Smith. And now, from Times Square, where the Wuhan bats went to celebrate finally being cleared of the origins of COVID, here's that Kevin.
Thank you very much. Great to have you, kids. Got a big show for you tonight. Hey, but tell announcer guy, I noticed something. I noticed something on the big board. I noticed announcer guy left off Ann Wilson, who Michael W. Smith is one of our spotlight artists tonight, but he's only one of two because Ann Wilson's going to be with us too. And I don't want to get blamed for having forgotten Ann Wilson in the opening. Ann's a phenomenal singer. She's gonna bring it home here in hour one. With her selection from the soundtrack of that Jesus Revolution movie. Don't know if you heard about the Jesus Revolution movie, but last week in the theaters, cocaine versus Jesus. That was the two things that people had to choose from. And I don't know what it says about our society, but cocaine beat Jesus at the box office. That's, just to be expected, I guess. But Jesus Revolution did really well. And John Irwin's going to come up. We're going to talk about I want to ask him all about that. The whole competing with a coked out bear. I can't think of many things more seriously dangerous than a big grizzly getting a hold of a whole bunch of cocaine. But it took Hollywood to bring it to life for us. All right, we've got a big show. Yes, we've got John Irwin, Mike Paramore. I don't know if you've heard this guy on the Dry Bar Comedy Stage tonight. One of the funniest dudes I have heard in a really long time. And he's going to explain maybe why you and he can't get dates. Yeah, be all defensive about it. You know it's true. And then Ann Wilson's going to be with us this hour. That's going to be a phenomenal way to round out things. And then Christine Nicholas. What can I say about this lady? She is the most incredible hostess of the best city on planet Earth. She's the first lady of hospitality of New York City. She's running the Broadway Association, which has been in existence for 130 years, I think. She's head of Nicholas and Lentz PR, and they handle all the biggest folks. And she was Mayor Giuliani's liaison on 9/11. I mean, there's so much going on. And she wants to welcome us, that Kevin show, officially to New York City. We're going to feel very benighted at this point in the second hour. And then a little bit later on, Michael W. Smith, three-time Grammy winner, has a brand new song in the same That Jesus movie. It's kind of like That Jesus Revolution, That Kevin show tonight, if there was such a thing. But I've got to get to some news because, as announcer guy just alluded to, some pretty big news came out this week. Turns out the COVID virus came from the Wuhan lab all along. Joe Biden didn't like being asked about it. Take a look at what happened this morning.
Paul Whelan. Hey, we're pushing.
Will you go to Ohio? Will you go to Palestine?
Nope. Didn't want to answer that one. He was gonna. He was going to answer the thing about going to Ohio, going to East Palestine. Somebody shouted, what are you going to do about China and the origins of the virus? He did not want to answer that question. And who can blame him? It's put him in a little bit of a pickle, because not just one division of his government, of his branch of government, but now 3 divisions. The CDC, which is in the executive domain, the State Department, and the FBI have all said the virus came from the Wuhan lab, which, come on, it wasn't that hard to figure that out. I mean, you've got this deadly virus, you've got this lab that makes deadly viruses, and all the people that died were around the lab. That's what it came from. But just to put a little bit of muscle to these bones, here's Chris Wray from the FBI. Take a listen.
The FBI has for quite some time now assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. The FBI has folks who focus specifically on the dangers of biological threats, which include things like novel viruses like COVID, and the concerns that in the wrong hands, the threats that those could pose. So here you're talking about a potential leak from a Chinese government-controlled lab that killed millions of Americans, and that's precisely what that capability was designed for.
That's Chris Wray, and he speaking very plainly there with Brett Baer on the Fox News channel. But that's exactly why that section of the FBI exists, to check out if China's trying to kill a whole bunch of people across the globe. And it looks like they were fairly successful at it. Lost more people than I wanted to count. That's for sure. You know, this hit the late night phase of the talk show circuit. In fact, Bill Maher just last night having a few words about it.
We're entering this phase now with COVID where we are in a period of, we can have perspective. We can look back. It's over. And so there's been a number of studies recently that have come out about things like natural immunity, mask wearing, lockdowns, and of course the big one this week about the lab leak theory. I feel like the people who are the dissenters are looking pretty good. I was one of them. Somebody dug this up for me this week. The Daily Beast had a headline, Bill Maher pushes Steve Bannon Wuhan lab COVID conspiracy. Yes, it was just Steve Bannon. Well, it was, the former head of the CDC, it's the FBI, it's the Energy Department. We don't know. Like I said, we shouldn't politicize it. But would you agree that the dissenters are looking better these days?
I certainly would, Bill Maher. Kevin McCullough, no argument from me. And it should also be noted that there with Bill Maher was liberal analyst John Heilemann from MSNBC. And he was suggesting that he always thought the lab leak theory was possible, but he, of course, blamed President Trump for it. Here's the exact quote. If you go back to that time, why do people seize on the notion that they'll reject the lab leak theory? Because like everything else in COVID, Donald Trump politicized it from day one, Heilemann said. His thing in that first 2 weeks was Kung Flu. And it was not just that it started in a lab, but then that the Chinese had released it on the world, that it was a bioweapon. This wasn't a leak. It was just not like there was an accident in the lab. The notion was put forward by the administration in some case that there was political interest to make China the villain, which is why Christopher Wray just said it's the FBI's job to check into whether or not it was weaponized. And I'm glad that we figured it out, because now we can take the appropriate steps to do so. Even if what's his name in the White House doesn't want to answer the questions anymore.
Sir, Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan. Hey, we're pushing.
Will you go to Ohio? Will you go to Ohio?
Yeah, so what? I got forget it. I can't answer it. I'm going to the helicopter. Kevin McCullough coming back from New York. No helicopter needed. Next.
Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan.
Don't worry, Joe Biden will be back with the rest of the living presidents before we're done. Plus, Ann Wilson. All yet to come on That Kevin Show.